Hello and welcome to Ringtalk, episode 142. I'm joined once again by the Goodwin Boxing team, Josh and Steve. How are we doing, gents?
All good, thank you. Ready for an exciting year of boxing.
Yeah, first podcast of the year, boxing podcast of the year. Yes. Excited, Josh?
Very.
Yeah, you look it. So, exciting things to talk about. We've got lots of things to talk about in terms of titles and stuff like that. But one thing that we really want to get out the gate, first of all, a brainchild of Junior Goodwin. One thing he's very thinking. So, we're going to start a predictions league. Basically picking a fight per week on a big TV show.
I guess it could be more if they've got a few 50-50s, but generally at least one.
At least one fight. On the main TV shows we're going to do, aren't we? If there's not the main big fights. So what we're going to do is we're going to have a prediction. Where Josh, actually, tell us a little bit more about your idea.
Well, I thought we all say we know boxing more than each other, so I thought we could create a little competition and see who'd win over the next 6 months. And then after discussing it, these two, we decided we'd put it out to the public. And if anyone beats us three, they'll receive 2 free VIP tickets to a show of their choice. So the way we're going to run it is you've got to give the person you think's going to win, and then the method. If you get the right result, you get 1 point. And if you get the right method, it's a bonus 2 points. So we're going to put it out every week, and you're more than welcome to join in with us. And at the end of June, July, we'll see where the table stands, and if you're above us, you get 2 free VIP tickets.
And will we publish a table every week?
Yes.
Yeah, we'll publish a table every week.
On here? Okay, brilliant.
Yes, we'll keep the table going, and then if you know more than us, you get rewards.
So your name could be in lights if you get it right.
Yeah, so every week we're going to put it out. We'll put the fight up, or the fights that we're going to put up for the predictions. Contact us via Twitter or Instagram to register your vote for that week. Like Josh said, if you get the correct result, it's 1 point. If you get the correct method and result, obviously, then it's 2 points. So the total of 3 points up for grabs. Free to enter. So yeah, register your interest.
It's a bit of fun, really.
Bit of fun. The first one we'll start with next week, so we haven't put a fight out for this weekend, but we'll start next week. So watch next week's episode where we'll put the fight out.
Got the Sky Show. We've got the Brad Pauls fight.
Yeah,
as well,
we've got the Brad Pauls fight. Well, let's link into that. That makes the most sense. We've got Brad Pauls next weekend on the Boxer Show. He takes on Tyler Denny for the English super middleweight title.
Yeah, bookies have priced it up. It's 4-1 on Tyler Denny, 100-30 against, or just over 3-1 Brad Pauls.
Good opportunity for Brad, right decision,
well, he's got
right position.
The thing is, he's 17-0, and he's now got to. He's done everything he can. We've done everything we can, and we have got him now ready for the big breakthrough. So it's now down to Brad. You at some point you have to, throw the dice. Tyler Denny's a very, very good fighter.
Yep.
I'd say, in my opinion, Tyler Denny is capable of competing for a British title. Linus, as we know, defeated Tyler Denny for the English title back in the day, a few years ago. It's a winnable fight, but a very, very hard fight. But there is a time in your career when you've got to go in. He's not going in. I mean, there's some fighters, as I've said before, are sent in to get executed, get absolutely obliterated, and he's not there. He's in there with a live chance, but he's now got to prove it.
Yeah.
He's been built, and Brad knows he's perfect. He's on perfect weight. He's had perfect training camp. There's no excuses, and it's really his chance to see if he is good enough to move up to the British title level, and that's what next week's going to show us.
And that's what happens when you manage a fighter and you build a fight. You get to a point where it's down to them. You get to a point where they get their opportunity to prove their ability at that level, and this is Brad's opportunity to prove he's at English title level, and we think he is. We think he's in with a shout of the shot. Again, it's no given, Josh, as we expect. I mean, but you wouldn't expect any English title or title to be a given. That's kind of what you want. It's 2 fighters at that level fighting for the title.
Exactly. English is, once you get to English, all bets are off, really. Sometimes you might get a bit lucky. Look, in an ideal world, I think you'd want an easier opponent for Brad than Tyler for an English title, but the middleweight is such a stacked division. You can't really get easier fights. But Tyler's very good. But I have faith Brad can do it. I want him to do it, and he deserves it. He's worked hard for all these years. He's stayed loyal to us, so I really, really hope he does it.
Certainly got the power, hasn't he, to trouble anybody in that division. So no, it'll be interesting. So good luck, Brad. It's a really good opportunity for him. Talking about opportunities, there's a lot of opportunities for Goodwin Boxing fighters, and we're a bit guilty of not shouting from the rooftops as much.
We've not been very good at. We've been busy and we haven't had the chance of demonstrating what we're doing. But when you look at it, as you say, we're still doing fabulous jobs for our fighters. We just aren't probably getting the recognition that we deserve compared to how many champions we've
just over the coming months. We have 12 fighters either in titles. There's 8 title fights going on that our fighters are involved in, and 4 eliminators things. There's 12 fighters over the next few months that have got titles or title opportunities, and that's an incredible stat.
From a small hall, predominantly we're a management group that is operating without the elite fighters that they're given. Mm-hmm. You show me anybody else that has been able to produce 46 champions, and we've got 12 fighters in these big fights. And we manage our fighters really well, and we give them the opportunities. And then if they're good enough, they can move on and get the TV opportunities. And that's really what we want to do. We progress them just as we've done Brad, and then get them to a stage. They get their titles, they win, and then we get them onto the big platform, and then we give them the best chance we possibly can, and then they've got to produce, and then obviously make that grade, like Linus has done, and Brad is hopefully going to do this next weekend.
Yeah, I mean, it's just incredible, and like I say, we haven't shouted it from the rooftops enough. In a period when we've been quieter, as you said, we've been busy, incredibly busy, but still, you've managed to carve out 12 opportunities for fighters. Josh, for you've been in this sport now for the best part of 10 years. You've seen Goodwin Boxing grow, you've seen take on different fighters, you've seen the progression of different people. It must give you and your dad, all of us, a sense of pride to be able to create opportunities for us. From nothing effective. Look, the boxers have done their part, they've sold their tickets, they've won their fights, they've done their part. It's not all us, but it must fill you some pride to see what we've done in 10 years.
Yeah, it's been an incredible job, really. I say we've not had any TV backing or outside sponsorship or general money flowing into us to be able to do what we want. So we've had to be really methodical, tactical, how we move fighters on. I think sometimes some fighters would probably look back on their careers and say they probably didn't have enough patience that they gave us. I think they wanted sometimes some stuff too quick. Mm-hmm. I think if every fighter listened to us, we'd probably have another 20 or 30 champions. Sure. But yeah, it's been incredible, the rise where, considering there was no background in boxing, just out of the blue, my old man started up promoting and management and helped create all those champions. Incredible, really.
I know some people know this story, but Steve, it just makes sense to talk about that now. How did you get into boxing? And obviously, just give us the brief, short version of how we ended up here nearly 10 years down the road, 46 champions.
Well, Olivia wanted to promote, so it was something she wanted to do, and we ended up going to do it. And the first show was at Milton Keynes. We promoted Graham L's comeback that never became a comeback. We ended up with 4 fights. We had, I think, 2 of the 4 fights, they lied and didn't sell their tickets, so we walked into it. We had people stealing tickets. We lost a pile of money, and I thought, what am I doing in the Wild West here? And it was horrific, but you learn.
Sure.
And a year later, Olivia wanted to promote in her own right, but the board said that I had to have a license for a year because she was so young, and then she could promote after a year. So we had to wait a year before she could promote. So once we did it for a year, after the first 2 shows, I thought I just want to stop doing it. But after a year, once we were in it, I think boxing is one of those things that once you're in, you're in. Mm-hmm. And so we were in. And ever since then, it's just gone bigger and bigger. And after 2 years, 3 years, we started managing, and it just went from strength to strength, the management, because management is not, once you're into boxing, you learn the rules. You learn how the systems work, and that just takes intelligence, being smart, and a business brain. And once you learn how everything manoeuvres, then it's not that difficult to do it. And it's been the case that we've been able to use the skill set and been able to move fighters and cleverly do it. And it's still, to this day, we still do that job. Our negative in boxing is that we don't give the BS. We don't sit there and promise boxers the world. I mean, we had a boxer who left us a year ago at the end of his 3-year contract, who apparently left because I wasn't giving him a load of BS in his ear to say, I promise you this and promise you that. Well, you don't need to promise this and promise that. Your record and what you do, don't listen to what people say, watch what they do. And that's my theory. But I'm not going to flower and bullshit to get people to re-sign. And that's sometimes a negative from our point of view, because, my attitude is we're good. Our record speaks for itself. So sometimes, as Josh says, fighters don't renew the contracts and things tend to go wrong for them. But from our point of view, we're still here. We've got a loyal group of fighters. We've got some fighters that are doing exceptionally well, and we're still doing the great job that we've always done. But people sometimes underrate or what we have achieved, because there's nobody that has achieved with no money being pumped in, no backing externally, no sugar daddy from...
You're the sugar daddy.
Sorry,
you're the sugar daddy.
No, because I don't pump money. I don't pump some money in. But
no, absolutely.
No, but sugar daddies that have got money from wherever, we've done it without any of that. And sometimes you don't get the credit you deserve for doing it like this. Whereas some people can come in with sugar daddy money temporarily, and then it all fades away because it's not real. We've been here doing the same job for fighters. We've promoted 13 years ago. We've been managing now for 10 years. And we have done this consistently, year after year after year after year. There is not a fighter that we've had under management that has not achieved what he should have achieved. And I think that is true. And there's plenty that have not stuck the course with us and listened to others that have then gone on not to achieve what they should have achieved. And that's life.
And talking about fighters moving on, we've got 4 shows coming up in March, the 4th, the 11th, the 18th and the 25th. Some absolutely cracking fights, some of the best fights we've done. The 11th of March is just redonkulous.
I'd say it's the best show we've ever done.
It is ridiculous. It's an incredible card. Lots of titles coming on. So we'll talk about that more next week, where we'll talk about some of the fights coming up, and we'll preview the Sky card next week coming up as well. One thing to review and to talk about a couple of weeks ago now, but the Eubank Junior Smith fight, great fight, shock result.
Yeah, well, put it this way, I'm glad the table didn't start last week.
Yeah.
I would have got that way wrong.
Yeah, me too. Yeah,
last week you'd had Beterbiev Yarde, wouldn't you?
Yeah, I think we've all got that right.
Beterbiev, mid to late round stoppage, I think. As well. But let's talk about that. We've just mentioned that incredible performance from Yarde, put on a great show. I mean, Beterbiev is just a monster.
What really confuses me, like, if you were to design a boxer, how they look, how they fight, it's quick hands, Anthony Yarde would be like your perfect boxer.
Yeah.
And you just have Beterbiev that it doesn't look like he does anything great. He just sort of plods forward, and but I think it's his time, and I think it's his time that's just so world class. I think it gets him out of trouble, but he also has great power. But yeah, Yarde was a bit more competitive than I thought he'd be, to be fair.
Yeah, definitely.
But yeah, incredible fight.
He's really improved, Yarde, hasn't he? He's really improved over the last. I know he had the Lyndon Arthur. Obviously, we dropped the first one, but obviously won the second one. But I mean, he's improved as a fighter. I've certainly more warmed to him recently. I think.
Listen, that man showed. I've met Andy a few times when he was trying to get the Frank Buglioni fight, and he was always, despite the fact we were not going to fight him, he was always very respectful, and I really, really liked him as a person. And what he did and what he went through on Saturday, I have immense respect for him.
Yeah.
But I'm also going to say that I think Beterbiev is not. He's got vulnerabilities.
Sure.
And I think
he has been down a couple of times.
and I think he's ready. I think he's ready for the taking.
Yeah. Who do you think takes him?
I think Callum Smith might.
Mm-hmm.
And I think Bivol would. I think he's now ready for the taking. He's 38, remember, and he's probably not the man that he was, say, 3 years ago. And I think he's ready. He's ready to get beat.
38, not the man he was used to. I'm 40. I'm just coming into my prime.
But you're not.
I'm just coming into my physical prime.
You're not in the ring throwing punches. But no, I think that he's vulnerable, and I think Anthony Yarde was very close. I mean, he was winning on points, right? Remember?
Yeah, ahead on two of the cards.
I had him ahead.
There's still a long way to go, though. I think the cards.
Round 8.
I think they're a bit irrelevant at that point. Personally.
I had this conversation with some mates I play golf with on the weekend. They went, "Oh yeah, he was up on the cards." I was like, "Yeah, but it's a bit like winning at half time. It doesn't mean anything."
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean, it's great, but it doesn't mean anything.
No, because Beterbiev is going to come on and on and on and on and on. But listen, I think Anthony Yarde has put in a world class performance. But we still have to remember, that he did put on a good performance, but Anthony did lose to Kovalev.
Yeah.
He did lose once to Lyndon Arthur.
To be fair, I think the Lyndon Arthur loss, I think that was more Yarde not turning up and actually.
I think that's fair. But what I'm saying is, there are fighters with a better resume out there than Anthony.
Yeah.
And they're going to give Beterbiev more trouble.
Sure.
And you haven't got to give him much more trouble. What I'm saying about head on the cards, you haven't got to give him much more trouble to potentially win. And I thought he looked a little bit slow at times. And I think if you can avoid getting backed into those corners and can keep him out, I think he's beatable. But going back to the fight, one of the best fights I've witnessed, and it reminded me a bit of McClellan Ben. It was just a brilliant fight, and full props to both fighters. And Anthony Yarde, in my opinion, his stock has risen massively.
Also, sorry, I just want to mention.
By the way, don't put Joshua Buatsi in with Beterbiev, because I think Joshua's one that will not beat Beterbiev.
No, yeah.
As someone say, I know Tunde's come in for a bit of criticism, the way he's handled Yarde over the years, but I saw a lot of people say it was a bit early, the stoppage, and I think in boxing terms it might have been slightly early, but it was only going one way at that point, and Tunde just saved him from more damage.
Full credit to Tunde for that.
Absolutely. One early is better than one late.
Exactly.
One early, people are pissed off. One late.
And going back where we started, the Smith Eubank fight, that was another cracking fight the week before, wasn't it?
Yeah, incredible fight. Shock result. I thought Liam Smith, I made a prediction on pitch boxing, and I said that I thought Smith was going to be competitive. I thought it was going to be competitive early, but I thought Eubank would be ultimately too big and too strong to work on. But it didn't happen that way. Never seen Eubank hurt like that. Unbelievable, just unbelievable performance from Liam Smith.
Yeah, the thing that got me is I think people forget Eubank's not young anymore.
Sure. They're about the same age, aren't they?
Yeah.
I know Liam Smith looks like 10 years older.
It's the grey hair, isn't it?
Yeah, it's the grey hair.
But yeah, I personally thought it would be Eubank, either on points or a late stoppage. But he just seemed to, I think he's aged overnight, Eubank. And also, the fact that he hasn't got a proper training set up probably hasn't helped. But I think there's definitely some aging with Eubank.
Do we think that we're coming to Eubank a little bit more. Do we think the Ben situation, boiling down to that weight, hasn't had an effect on this fight?
No.
Just
think that the rumours are that Eubank is carrying a few injuries.
Mm-hmm.
Right? He's strapped up a lot at the gym. He's got, as Josh said, no trainer. He doesn't listen to Ronnie Davis. Roy Jones is just a figurehead who comes over a little bit before. He listens to no one, does his own thing, probably carrying injuries, probably getting old, and he's got no setup. And Liam Smith is just the better boxer. And if they do a rematch, it goes the same way.
Do you think it goes the same way? Is that because...
For me, Eubank at his prime beats Liam Smith and beats him quite handily.
Yeah.
I agree.
I don't think he's in his prime in it.
That's the point. Yeah. And I don't think, I'll make a prediction, they won't do the rematch.
They won't.
I think that they can resurrect Eubank and earn more money. But if they go to Liverpool and he gets beaten again, that's him done.
Do you not think that...
There's more money in fighting Ben in Saudi Arabia or whatever they're going to do.
I don't see how that fight sells anymore.
You don't think so?
It'd be interesting to see whether they go down there. I know there's talk of Ben's going to be cleared by the WBC very soon. I see something on Twitter yesterday.
Yeah, there's a big obsession. We talk about this all the time. There's a big obsession with the WBC.
Who are they?
But they're not a governing body.
They sanction fights. They don't govern fights. It's like, it's crazy. But what it will mean, and it will muddy the waters, and it will mean that Ben can fight under certain jurisdictions if that's the way that it goes, and the WBC do clear him. So we don't think that it was the Conor Ben situation that affected Eubank and something. Do we think Eubank stock is destroyed now?
Not destroyed. I think there's other fights. People being. If he came back and got a win against somebody else, I think it would generate interest to whoever he fought. I don't think he can go straight back into a big fight. I just don't think it sells. It was basically a massacre in the end, wasn't it?
Do you think he'll be on pay-per-view again?
I think the rematch can be, because look, if Eubank went himself got sorted himself a trainer, I think he's someone like Shane McGuigan.
Yeah.
I think then people would like, you can sell the stories.
That's never going to work, is it?
No, but that's somebody who he plays.
Absolutely,
quite good for him actually.
Yeah.
If he done something like that, I think you can sell it, can't you? But if he does the same thing again, it's like,
I mean, it may be in contradiction to what I just said. They may just take the rematch as a cash-out job if they can't get another fight that sells. But I don't think they want to do the rematch. But
I think anyone that fights Eubank now will fancy the chances, just because they know there's that vulnerability there.
Exactly.
And I think it makes it a much harder. I think people go into it a little bit different. But it'll be interesting to see what happens. One of the things that was talked about, and has been a question on Twitter from Lee, saying, do you think Smith's elbow was accidental? And what do you think about the potential appeal that Eubank may lodge? I'll get your opinions first. Josh, what do you think on the elbow?
The whole thing's a joke. It's part of boxing. Look, would he maybe thrown the hook and stuck the elbow out? People do that, yeah, maybe, but it's boxing, it happens. You can't appeal a decision on it, it's just a load of nonsense.
I totally agree with Josh.
Yeah, totally agree. Yes, there was an elbow that landed, it was intentional. No, if you throw the left hook, the elbow naturally follows the wrist because they're connected. There's a bone in between, it connects one to the other. So the natural motion of the way you throw it, the elbow comes through. Don't think it was intentional, didn't lead with it. He lands the left hook. Crazy. When I see that, it's just
it's embarrassing, isn't it?
It's mental. It's almost like the David Hayto situation. It's kind of, in that situation, you either have to decide beforehand whether you mention it or never mention it ever, before. But it's a strange one. I think that wraps up pretty much everything we've got to talk about this week, haven't we? All right, gentlemen, thank you very much. Thanks for joining us for a slightly shorter Ring Talk this week. We're back next week where we'll preview the Sky card and talk more about the upcoming shows in March. And we'll announce the first fight for the Predictions League and see if you can beat us and win two VIP tickets to one of our shows at the back end of the year. Thanks for joining us.